Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Smart Counsel for Lunch. My name is Sean Downing and I'm a estate planning attorney here at the law firm of Samuel Sayward and Baylor. Our law firm specializes in the area of estate planning, elder law, and trust and estate administration. So today I am joined by the wonderful Chelsea Lanson. She's the Director of Planning and Community Development at HESSCO, which is the Health and Social Services Consortium in Southern Norfolk County. Thank you so much for meeting with me today, Chelsea.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. So first, I was wondering if you could just tell us a little about what is HESCO? What are the services that you guys provide?
Absolutely. So, as you said, we are HESSCO, which is our shortened name, the long name, Health and Social Services Consortium. HESSCO rolls off the tongue a little easier, but we are the agency that is designated in the state of Massachusetts by the Executive Office of Aging and Independence to act as what's called an Aging Services Access Point, or ASAP, as well as a federally designated area agency on aging, or AAA. So every town in Massachusetts is actually represented by an agency like HESSCO. There are 24 ASAPs. Many are co-located with ASAP and AAA in the same agency, like HESSCO is, though there are a few standalone AAAs. So any town that you're in Massachusetts would have an agency like HESSCO. HESSCO serves, as you mentioned, South Norfolk County, 12 towns. So we're the agency for those particular towns, but there are others just like us for every town. And kind of the general role that we have as an aging services access point is to be sort of the go-to agency for people who have questions around anything aging related. So it's very broad, but generally, we're here to provide information, referrals, support, and services across a wide variety of programs, all related to what can help you age well in your community. We serve older adults and individuals with disabilities who are 60 years or older. And our goal, again, is to help them maintain independence and dignity living in the setting of their choice for as long as they choose to do that. Some of the services that you might be familiar with that we provide, Meals on Wheels, people always tend to recognize that name. It's a federal program. And so we provide that program as well as a lot of in-home services. So help with things like grocery shopping, cleaning, bathing, dressing, kind of those traditional in-home services that people might be aware of. We also do things like health insurance counseling through our SHINE program. So sometimes people are familiar with that. We have a caregiver support program, adult protective services. So if people have a concern about abuse or neglect going on in the community for older adults, we would be the agency in this area that would handle those concerns. We also do other things people might not be familiar with, including we have some housing programs where we work with individuals who are living in public housing with activities and kind of support for referrals, kind of more like what we do at HESSCO generally in the community, but a little more hands-on in housing programs there. We have a nursing staff that does assessments for going into nursing facility placements or attending adult day health centers. We provide support for transportation, legal services, and in addition to the home delivered meals or Meals on Wheels program, we also operate some social meal programs on sites, many times out of senior centers, as well as working with people who are already living in nursing facilities but wish to come back into the community. We can help with that transition process. Probably some others that I thought about, but that's
Yeah.
probably a good overview of what we do at HESSCO.
Yeah, so just on that note, so let's say, you're a person, you're thinking maybe one of these services might be right for you. How do you go? Do you have to know what you want, or can you just reach out to HESCO and be like, I need some help, I don't know where to go, and then, get some
Yeah.
guidance?
Absolutely. So you definitely don't know what you need. It's not a menu to order from. I think the first step is certainly calling HESSCO, or even if you don't live in HESCO's area, but you're hearing this and you're not sure who else to call. The whole state is actually set up through our Aging Services Network to provide what we call a no wrong door approach for both aging services and disability services. So you can call HESSCO just to say like, I need help. I don't know who to call. What do I do? We have trained staff that are available to help kind of direct people to the next step. as well as, talk with individuals about their particular individual circumstance to figure out what is the next kind of best step for them specifically. So all of our services are designed with that person-centered model around talking about what your goals are, what your needs are, and putting services in place to meet those.
Yeah, that sounds great. Especially, I feel like it's a bit confusing to know which, if there's 24 different things, it's not county based, it's more than that. So it's nice that you reach out to somebody and then you can be put on the right track.
Absolutely, yes.
Um, well, yeah, awesome. So all the services you said, the one that stood out to me the most for sure is people who want to live in their own house and have services so they can continue doing that even when they might need a little more help. So I was wondering if you just go into a little bit more of like, how does that work? How can someone do that? I know you mentioned people even from nursing homes can go back. If you could just speak a
Mhm.
little more on that.
Sure, yeah, that's definitely probably the biggest program that we operate at HESCO is sort of the in-home help to stay independent in the community. And that, again, looks very different for every individual. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach by any means. But the process starts by, making a referral to HESCO. You can self-refer, your doctor can refer, your family can refer, anybody really can call HESCO. And just say, I need some help, where do I start? And that process starts with something that we call an intake assessment. And so one of our intake assessment specialists would come out to your home and meet with you to talk about, again, review your needs, your goals, and sort of that collaborative rather, conversation to talk about what services might be appropriate for you based on your circumstance. Because we are a state-funded agency for our home care program, we do have some eligibility criteria around what would make you eligible to participate in the program. It's primarily around the types of things you need help with in your daily activities. So all of us as humans, we have to do things every day to live, and that includes, everything from getting up in the morning and bathing, dressing, feeding ourselves, keeping our house together by cleaning and doing laundry and going grocery shopping, all those things, getting to medical appointments. So, based on what of those tasks you need help with or that you're able to do independently, you have to have a certain level of impairment, we call it, to be eligible for this program, which again is based on state regulations. There is no specific income limit or requirements for eligibility of the program. It's based on a sliding scale based on your income. So for some people, there's no cost for service if your income is very low. Um, if you have an income between certain thresholds based on our sliding scale, you would perhaps pay a set amount copay per month for your services, kind of regardless of what you're receiving. So for example, if your care plan includes, $300 of service worth of service, your copay might be $50. And that is incremental based on your income. If your income is over a certain threshold, you might pay a percentage of the cost of your services rather than a set copay amount. So again, if you receive $300 worth of service and your copay is assessed at 50%, you'd pay $150 towards that. And that's again given to us by the state regulation of what all ASAPs are the same in that way. So you start, with this eligibility assessment based on, your needs and your goals, and then services can be put in place based on those things. So that really ranges again based on your needs and your circumstance, but could be anything from just a few hours a week to help with maybe just grocery shopping or home delivered meals or laundry or some combination of those things, all the way up to, nearly around the clock care if have significant needs but want to stay in the community. We have programs through Mass Health that we're able to provide what's called sort of nursing home level of care, but you're choosing to have that care in the community through our Community Choices program. So it's really, really wide ranging, and there is a lot that's available for people who want to stay in the community.
Right. So I guess I was just about to ask, is it separate from Mass Health or Medicaid, uh, Medicare type services where you're doing this kind of in tandem with those services? And it sounds like you do some overlap in that regard, or
Yeah, so certain programs require, for eligibility purposes, Mass Health specifically, there are many programs actually in the state, not just ones that HESCO administers, but that do require that health insurance. We
Right.
don't bill any insurance programs directly, so it's not that specifically, but it's just the way that the eligibility requirements work. So it's not a requirement to have service through HESCO. It just might determine which programs you can access depending on what your Mass Health uh, enrollment is. The other insurance programs don't really play into it otherwise.
Okay, okay, so it's state level
Yeah.
determination. All right. No, that's super good to know. Um, so on a similar note, with when it comes to people like when to reach out to HESCO. So I know, we have from a state planning purpose, we're all about like planning, planning, planning. And some of the people coming to us are relative, quite young, thinking about long-term planning to get their assets, stretched out, to take care of themselves when they're elderly. Is HESCO just a thing that you reach out when you need it? Is there anything you should do, like reach out in advance just to get things lined up? What do you recommend on that kind of area?
Yeah, so I would agree with you completely. Planning in advance is always the best course of action. Before a crisis occurs, is really the best time to try to get your ducks in a row and figure out what to do if in the event that something happens. Um, so I would say it's kind of a blend. So it's always great to gather information and have conversations and figure out what you might want at some point in the future if you need help. But in terms of when to call to line up services or something like that, that is a little bit more timely related to when you're actually going to need the service. So we love doing presentations like this because, getting our information out there in the community is really important. I think having people know and understand what is even possible or available
Sure.
helps in that planning process. And with aging, this is a topic that hopefully relates to everyone. Someone, no matter your age, you likely know someone that is in this age bracket of older adults that might be accessing or need to access these types of services. So I would say it's never too early to get information about what's available, but in terms of reaching out when you're actually ready to start services. We have a pretty quick turnaround. The state, again, actually mandates that we have, from the time someone calls, 5 days, 5 business days to get out to the home to actually do that initial assessment.
Okay.
And then after that assessment is done, services generally can start within 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not something you need to schedule, years in advance in
All right.
terms
Yeah.
of like, well, I think I might need services, some point in the future. Let me call and get my name on the list. It's nothing like that. It's really, and because care plans are developed based on an individual's need
Mhm.
at the time, that's really not something you can plan super in advance in terms of that. So, yeah, when you're ready to have some help in the home, that's when you can call HESCO to start arranging your services. But anytime before that, you can always call with questions. We do community presentations as well. You're always welcome to attend and find out, if you have specific questions or you guys kind of generally want to hear about what's going on in the aging world and what's available. We welcome all of those inquiries.
I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about adult children. We see a lot of adult children who are worried about their parents needing some of these services, or have dementia, they're unsure what to do. Um, can those children reach out to HESCO? Can they be part of the solution? They're getting groceries, but not all the way. I was just wondering if you could speak more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we certainly recognize that there are all forms of informal caregivers. Family situations are very different across all, realms. And so there are certainly roles that adult children can play in terms of helping their parents navigate this landscape or being informed themselves around what's possible. Um, a lot of caregivers are in the position of being, both caring for their older aging parents as well as maybe having children themselves. So the capacity is often limited of what you can do as a caregiver. And so balancing, also working and any other responsibilities you might have can be incredibly overwhelming. there might be situations where families wish they could be involved, but might be geographically distant. So they're not able to stop in as often as they'd like. And so we see all kinds of families. And I think what's important to remember for adult children is, in particular, at the end of the day, unless there has been a legal or medical determination that an older adult does not have the capacity to make their own decisions, it ultimately is that person, the individual, the older adult, that is responsible and would be sort of the focus of planning around what services they will or will not accept into their home. That can be a really challenging dynamic too when old adult children are seeing their parents maybe not as independent as they once were and being really concerned about how they're doing things for themselves, wanting to jump in and do things. Maybe the parents are not wanting to burden their kids, or there's many different dynamics that make this challenging for some people. And so, we don't take the lens that it's an adult child's responsibility to be a caregiver for their parent, though we welcome them in the process. So again, back to the planning question, I think it's important to have these conversations really early and often to talk to your family about what it is that you want as an older adult. Do you want your kids to be involved in the process? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the time? Do they have the geographically, are you close enough that that's part of your care plan, kind of as you're aging? If not, that's why we have these services. HESSCO is here to be that support in even when people have families and when people don't have families. So it's a lot. We have actually a program at HESSCO for caregivers specifically.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of our care management staff that work with older adults to coordinate their services and support them, their focus is on the older adult. We also have a caregiver support specialist whose role is to focus on the caregiver.
Hmm.
And so it's a little similar kind of case management, but meeting with the caregiver to talk about their individual circumstance, what's on their plate for caregiving, what are the things they're doing for their people in their lives. It could be a lot of different people that they're caring for, and just acknowledging that process is really overwhelming and that those people who are caring for others also need support. We operate a caregiver support group, can meet one-on-one with caregivers to talk about different tools or supports that might be appropriate. So there's sort of again, a gambit of things that adult children can do. Being informed, really important. Being able to say, "Oh, hey, mom, I heard, this interview, and these are the things that we can do to help plan." Having those conversations to talk about, where do you see yourself as you age in the process? Do you want to stay at home? Do you want to go into a nursing facility? How do you want your family to be involved or not involved? I think those conversations are really important to have. And then once you find yourself in the role, not forgetting to ask for help if it's feeling like too much or you need more support. So there's a lot. We know a lot that families do for their loved
Yeah,
ones and their
no,
aging parents especially.
it's great that you're
Um,
supporting, all the parties involved in this, and it's
oh,
not
of course, yeah,
you know,
has to be.
kind of on the flip side of all this. I think, we have some clients who come to us who don't necessarily have the family or the friends, or whether because they're not local, they just don't have it, and they might need more help with like just basic like figuring out what to do, and maybe even like not getting scammed and that kind of stuff. Is there any sort
Mm.
of services to protect people who might not have someone to just kind of like keep an eye on them?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, Navigating the aging services landscape can be really overwhelming for anyone, but especially so when you don't have friends or family that you can kind of lean on. I would say the backbone of all of our programs at HESCO are our amazing staff who are committed to, providing that information and support, and finding out who and when and where, can we help individuals. And so we have information and referral specialists when you call on the phone that can give you all kinds of information, again, based on your specific circumstance, maybe helping to connect you with the senior center for some social programming, or a place where you can build those new relationships if you don't existingly have them. lots of different resources that might be available in your community related to transportation. A lot of the senior centers do errand trips to the grocery store. They do local medical appointments. HESCO has services that provide medical transportation as well to maybe longer distances, maybe into Boston or places. Um, we have our care managers, of course, if you come into the HESCO program, home care program, that do regular home visits. So it could be, 3 or 4 times a year that your case manager is coming out to your home to sit with you and talk with you about how you're doing, how things are going, the services you already have. Are those meeting your needs? Do we need to shift or more for, come up with new things? So, as you said, whether people are truly alone, meaning they have no one, or their family's just not around and they need a little extra help, there are services available, and that's what HESCO's here for, to help anyone, no matter their circumstances, kind of get those supports that they need.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the running theme that,
Yes.
and there's a plethora of options, and it sounds like it's really catering to the person's situation, which I really love to hear. Because that's what we like
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
right.
You,
Hmm.
you can do the boilerplate estate planning, but at the end of the day, you want it to be customized to what you want, what you need, and what your family needs, bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. It was lovely talking with you and learning so much about HESCO. Um, yeah, do you have any like final parting words for people, maybe who I know you mentioned like there's different programs you can reach out. How would someone know what program they're under? Like, or even outside of Massachusetts, I don't know if you know anything about that. Like, how does someone know, like, how do you find your aging service?
Yeah, so for in Massachusetts, we're very lucky. We have a very comprehensive service kind of network for aging services. So as I mentioned, every town in Massachusetts is covered by an agency like HESCO. You can find a listing of the agency that covers your town actually through the mass.gov website. They have an interactive map that you can use to find your aging services access point as well as your senior center. You can also call Mass Options, which is a sort of a phone based similar information offering center. And the phone number for that is pretty easy to remember. It's 1-800-AGE-INFO.
Okay.
And so you can always call and just ask, similar questions. Hey, I don't really know who I'm supposed to call. Can you help me find out? I have a question about downsizing in my house, and I wanna, I need to move, or, anything. Couldn't be anything. I need help in my home. I need, I can't cook for myself anymore, and I need some help getting meals. Really can be absolutely anything. And you can call that phone number. They'll connect you with the agency that you need to talk to. Um, Outside of Massachusetts, it gets a little bit harder to navigate just because we have such a comprehensive service system of services. But there is a federal designation that I mentioned, the Area Agency on Aging, or AAA. So that outside of Massachusetts is probably the language you would see in most places. So if you look for your Area Agency on Aging, that would be the place to start with, at least to get directed to maybe some more specific services. But all have sort of that similar goal in mind of helping individuals connect with the services and supports that they need based on their individual circumstance. And, not a one size fits all by any means. People's circumstances also change over time. So you start out when you're 60, by the time you're 80 or 90, your situation might look a lot different, and you need to have those supports. So it's definitely not I need to call right now. You can call anytime at any point. If your situation changes, you can come into service, you can go out of service. If you have a hip replacement, and suddenly you can't do the things you usually do, but after you rehab and you get back on your feet, maybe you don't need those services anymore. We have that situation all the time too. So it's not, once you call us, it's not a lifelong commitment that you're, oh no, now I'm stuck with these people. Certainly we're here to support you as you need it. So you can call us anytime, and all the agencies like us do the same work.
All right. Well, thank you for your very informative information. It was lovely to meet with you and to learn so much. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Nice to meet with you too.
All right. Bye.
Take care.